I'm going to focus on the fact that the Golden State Warriors could only make 7 shots in the fourth quarter. I'm going to focus on the fact that after 21 points and 6 threes in the first quarter, Steph Curry was held to 13 points. I'm going to focus on the fact that Klay Thompson had a relatively pedestrian game, and Jordan Poole was completely, utterly rattled. Everybody was up in his mug. It was Smart. It was Pritchard. It was Brown. Whoever it was, Jordan Poole could not do anything. Absolutely nothing. Now, obviously, those could all be attributed to Boston's defense. So I'm in no way trying to disagree with you. I'm just saying to you that my focus is on, it's like, damn. I went from looking at Golden State winning this series in 7 games to actually saying, I suspect they will, but how the hell are you going to win games in this series? How are you going to pull this off? You try to go into the interior. You got Robert Williams blocking shots. You sit up there and you try to key on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Al Horford hitting open jump shots. Derek White coming off the bench hitting shots. I'm just saying, we're talking about Boston's defense, sure. But let's understand that if Derek White, Tim Legler, and Al Horford and Marcus Smart are going to shoot that way, Golden State doesn't have a chance. They don't have a chance. You can't have role players shooting like that and expect the Golden State Warriors to win. That's what I walked away thinking. It scared the living hell out of me.
Yeah, listen, Steve Kerr had some sound after the game. He said, basically, my first gut reaction is they played a hell of a fourth quarter. And I'm sitting there saying, no, they didn't play a hell of a fourth quarter. They played perfect basketball. Perfect basketball. You could go and look at every game played in the NBA this season. You would have a difficult time finding a better 12 minutes put together on both ends of the floor than what Boston did in the fourth quarter of that game. And it was, look, guys stepped up, made shots. I thought Golden State's offense got pushed further and further out. They did get away a little bit from what they do. There was no guard screen action. There was no cutters. Everything was pushed out on the perimeter. I think they started to sense, hey, man, they're scoring every time down the other end. I thought they tried to hit the home run a little bit too quickly. They didn't do the things they did in the first 3 quarters. Listen, you cannot take anything away from Boston. But what they did was win a road game. And this is their 8th road win, by the way, in the postseason, which is incredible.
8-2.
Incredible. They've won 8 road games already with 6 more games potentially to play in the finals. But here's the thing. I expected both teams to win a road game in this series, which is why I ultimately picked the Warriors in 7. I think they're both going to win road games. And it just so happens Boston did it in game 1, and they turned it around in such a dramatic way, guys. I was sitting with my mouth open in the fourth quarter going, what exactly in the hell am I watching right now that this game turned that dramatically after Golden State completely established control in the third quarter? So a lot of things that Golden State can clean up. It's going to be a tough film session. If I'm Steve Kerr, I'm only watching the fourth quarter. That's all I want to watch. Let's watch this quarter, particularly defensively, and some of the mistakes they were making in not getting the shooters. Those are where the adjustments are going to have to come from Golden State because Boston bombed them out in the fourth quarter, and that just can't happen, or Golden State can't win the series.
See, what I saw in this game was trust. What I saw was Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum have trust in the others. The Golden State Warriors did a great job of loading up on Jason Tatum last night. He had 13 assists. So you know what that's going to do for Game 2? Now all of a sudden in Game 2, everybody on the Golden State Warriors is now going to respect Al Horford. They're going to respect Derek White, which is now going to open up driving lanes and driving gaps and give Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown those one-on-one isolations. Now let me get to Jordan Poole for a second. Throughout this entire playoffs, Jordan Poole has been what? The third option to Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. Meaning when he goes into ball games, he's primarily guarded by somebody that's not really considered a defender. See, when you're dealing with this Celtic team right here, this team that got this depth at the perimeter for its defensive prowess, you can't hide no more. So they have about 6 or 7 guys that are capable of sliding their puppies on the Celtics. So Jordan Poole, I don't think this is just a game 1, just him having a poor night. he is going to struggle throughout this entire series because of the depth that the Celtics have on the defensive side of things.
Kendrick Perkins, Tim Blake, let me throw this at y'all, okay? Let me ask y'all this question. Because one of the things that I believe you cannot do against Boston, you can't dribble the ball too much. Jordan Poole is guilty of that. You are not going to be effective against the Boston Celtics trying to break them down off the dribble. It's not going to work. They're like piranhas. They'll come down on you. They'll suffocate on you. They'll swarm you, and they'll do it quickly. You got to catch and shoot. You got to have spacing. You got to distribute the basketball. You got to do those things. I thought with Jordan Poole, entirely too much dribbling. And one of the things Magic Johnson pointed out during the game, he came up with us at halftime. He was there for a few minutes. First quarter, end of first quarter, Magic Johnson comes up on the set, fellas. He's sitting right next to me. He said, Stephen A., look at Golden State. I said, what? He said, all 5 guys have their hands on their hips. They're tired. They're tired after the first quarter. He said, Boston's going to get up in you. They know they're bigger. They know they're more physical, and they're going to dare you to withstand that. He said, you combat that, you've got to be selfless. You've got to move the basketball because the more you dribble, the more energy you're expending, and that's playing right into their hands. And sure enough, that's exactly what the Golden State Warriors did, especially a Jordan Poole. And I'm looking at, listen, my belief is Golden State's chance to win this series, and why I picked them to win this series is because of Steph, Clay, and Jordan Poole. And I said, 2 of the 3 have to get off. All 3 of them didn't get off. You damn right Boston should be the favorite right now after that performance last night and the kind of hole that they put Golden State in. Let me get direct in what I'm about to say. The Boston Celtics cannot win Game 2, and we expect the Golden State Warriors to win this series. They can't win Game 2. If the Golden State Warriors go down 0-2, they're not beating the Boston Celtics for the next 5 games. I think it's safe for us all to assume that. That's just too much to ask against a team as elite as they are defensively. I just don't expect that kind of breakdown from the Boston Celtics. Number 3, I will say this to you, KP. When we highlight what all the things that you just articulated about how Boston could step up their game, here's where I respectfully disagree. I don't believe all of those dudes would get the opportunity to do what they did if Jason Tatum was on. I think there's an exchange that took place. Because Jason Tatum wasn't on, he became a distributor, which is why he had the 13 assists. Those dudes were making shots. Remember, he took 17 shots. Jason Tatum's good for 25 shots when he's rolling, as he should be, because he's the superstar for that team. So it's not that I'm not saying that those guys wouldn't be effective. I'm simply saying if Jason Tatum is making shots, he's passing the ball less. There's less opportunities for them to do what they did. It's just that it would be him doing it instead of them. If it's not him, it's them. If it's not them, it's him. But Jaylen Brown has shown up as well, and they got 2 stars that you got to contend with. It's just that simple. In the end, your last point about Draymond Green, we got to bring this up about Draymond Green. All-world defensive player, orchestrator, your point forward, distributor of the basketball savant. Could you imagine how lethal the Golden State Warriors would be if Draymond Green was a reliable perimeter shooter? Think about that, because you couldn't leave him open. And then that would open the floodgates. Well, yeah, years ago, he would have been the MVP of the finals that they lost to Cleveland the way he played in that Game 7. Remember that? He got ejected. I'm sorry, he got suspended for Game 5. Came back in Game 6, they lost to Cleveland. Game 7, he played lights out, was absolutely spectacular. And I believe in Dre that when you put the pressure on him and you point to him and you say it's you, if you don't do this, they gonna lose. I think that he'll make sure he does his job. But he has to, because Boston is daring him to do so. I also think Gary Payton Jr., what the hell you got him activated for the game and not play him? the big boy that they got coming off the bench. I always forget how to pronounce his name. But, you know, this brother here can hit some points. He can hit some threes. You need size, but you need an offensive threat that's playing your 4, your 5, because Boston's going to key on the guards. If you Steve Kerr, you got to take these kind of chances. And also you got to play a defender like Kuminga, because his athleticism and his length might help you on the defensive end of the floor as well. I think that there's a lot that Steve Kerr could do, but they got to do it, man, because Boston is no joke.
They better respect the others. That's what they better do. They better respect the others. They better respect Big Al Horford like he didn't outplay Giannis in that game 4 on the road in Milwaukee when he went for what, 26 or 28 points. Yeah, in the fourth quarter. See, here's the thing. The thing that I recognize about Jason Tatum, I believe it was game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. I believe he had about 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 9 assists. He shot the ball 21 times in that game. See, Jason Tatum, Stephen A. and Legs, he's growing right before our very eyes. See, just because they call your play doesn't mean it's your shot. And he's starting to get that. He's starting to make guys around him better. The great Kevin Garnett used to tell me, hey, man, when you see a franchise guy, watch him and see if he's able to get his 20 or 30 and get people around him 10 to 15 points. That's what we're seeing out of Jason Tatum. This is why we see this team being so lethal. Let's not act like we didn't see Grant Williams in a crucial game 7 light it up against the Milwaukee Bucks at the crib. Listen, I'm telling y'all, man, this Boston Celtics team is real. Coach Ime Udoka holds these guys accountable. He has put together a hell of a game plan. He has his rotations down. He rolled with his bench in that fourth quarter last night. Peyton Pritchard played 8 minutes in the fourth quarter. You talk about trust. Game 1 of the finals, he played 8 minutes in the fourth. Hey, look.